Hey everyone, it's your boy Marcus Norman of Gentleman Style Podcast Show. And today we're going to have a very great conversation. I really enjoy talking about people and how we can do the things we can do to get better. And I have a very incredible young man, a very motivated and inspiring. He inspires me every single day. And I appreciate him for saying yes and coming on the Gentleman Style Podcast Show. This presents us a unique opportunity to peel back the layers, so to speak. And I appreciate him for what he's doing because he's in a space that most men have stemmed away from. And so I'm really appreciative of him. I'm really proud of him. And I'm really happy that he's in this, doing this great work. I feel beyond necessary, beyond necessary, not only to help others, but more importantly, in my opinion, to help our men. Our men are scared, and he is leading the charge and he's leading the way for more men to come forward. And I'm so happy he's in this space, the mental health space. The music you are hearing is brought to you by Janelle. She is a up and coming growing artist in the North Carolina market. Check it out, Copper album, but you got to get on board with what he's doing. So without further ado, help me welcome to the stage the incredible Manuel Powell.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation, Marcus. I'm grateful for your consideration and having this opportunity to be with here to speak with your guests, your fans, and everyone that may be viewing this content today.
Absolutely, it is a pleasure. It's an honor. The pleasure is on mine. Thank you again for saying yes. Uh, I
Absolutely.
want I want to start with a softball question. You have an
Yeah.
incredible mind, and you could do
Thank you.
anything. You could do anything that you wanted to do. Why join and put yourself in a space that has been primarily dominated by women?
Mhm.
And now you are putting your best foot forward and making it okay. I consider what you're doing is shining a light and carving a path for others to follow and emulate. But why
Absolutely.
enter the mental health space out of all the things, out of all the skill sets that you could do?
Mhm. So, to best answer this question, um, it is best to take you to 5-year-old me and less me of present day. So if I take you in the mind of 5-year-old me, this individual, they witnessed an event, a little basic event, something, the ball rolls down the street, um, kid falls off their bike. He had a recollection of the same event, and he had a friend who had eyes on the same thing, but had a completely different reaction and interpretation of the same event. And he was like, oh my God, how does this happen? And that's when I began to fall in love with the mind and perception and how we see things. With paired with that, I always had a caring heart. I always wanted to help. I always wanted to be there for people. It was just in my nature to be that way. So growing up and developing, I was looking at different things. You mentioned like doing anything. Why would I do mental health? Why would I do counseling? I really had been exposed to a lot of different things and areas. I always saw myself as a upper echelon or what people tend to call like high value career type of person. I wanted to be first career I ever wanted to be was NBA player. But then, as basketball came around, I was just like, this is not sticking with me. I was a really type of kid that liked watching documentaries, things like the Discovery Channel when it was mostly, very strong in like the educational Animal Planet. Oh, I love animals so much. So those were the type of things that really attracted me early on. I considered by the time I got to high school, I had considered doing law, and I took part in model judiciary. And in my mind, had an observation is this is not justice. this is a competition between entities. So if I'm better than you, that makes me right and you're wrong. But we're playing a game amongst each other, but there's other people's lives at stake. That just really didn't fit with my character at the time and the things that I liked. So I said, okay, what other options are there? Now, there's entrepreneurship, but like you can do entrepreneurship with just about anything. So I said, okay, what is something more defined that I could get it to? I had the opportunity while I was in high school to take a dual credit class. So if you don't know what that means, while you're in high school, you could take a college level class for like a like a much cheaper price, and you'll get the college credit. And I decided to take psychology, and I really fell in love with it. To backpedal from that a bit, I believe the year prior we had an assignment for my English class to where we had to go out and find somebody who had a career that we were interested in, and I emailed and got some questions back from a neuropsychologist. So I said, okay, this is kind of cool. Let me see what this is about. Let me get my foot in it. And once I had the class, I really found that I was interested in all the material that they were talking about, the background, the science, how they see things, and it just shed a big light on like, okay, this is an avenue that I want to continue with. And another note with that, it also opened my mind up to the possibilities of the different things out there that can be done in just the workplace in general. So that really leads me into, okay, how did I get involved with the mind, the health atmosphere? While all this is going on, I must say that my other passion is playing music, and I'm a saxophonist as well. So I'm playing saxophone while all this is going on, and I'm seeing how the mind and psychology is playing out amongst the people I interact with, the people that I'm in band with, and that led me to go to Jackson State University, HBCU in Jackson, Mississippi, where I majored in psychology. And when you major in psychology, you pretty much got two paths, directions that are primary main. We have some other ways and lanes and directions. I'm not a psychologist, but there's some other lanes and directions you can go. There's the practice side, and then you have the research side. Now, I was really good at research. I just did not enjoy it very much. The process of crunching the numbers, going through it, uploading it into programs, SPSS, if you're familiar with those things are, I was just like, I don't really want anything to do with that at the moment. But I love the feeling and idea of gathering new information, gathering things of discovery. So I said, okay. And I remember a specific conversation I had that really sealed the deal for me, as far as the counseling side of things. So I was a senior um, at Jackson State. I was in the marching band, Sonic Boom in the South, one of the premier HBCU marching bands or marching bands, period, in the entire world, let alone the country. And I had, I called her my daughter because we bring these people in and we're pretty much a family. So we're having a conversation and they're having some family issues. And I'm just like really talking through them with it, basic conversation. And by the end of the conversation, she was like, wow, that was really helpful to me. And I enjoyed having the conversation with her. So that put a light bulb in my head like, okay, bloom, maybe this is something that I can do. Because up until that point, I hadn't really latched on to anything. So that was really the entryway and opening up to where I am now.
Absolutely. And so you that ignited the passion. And thank you for that. First off, thank you for sharing your background and your history and where the connections have been made throughout the course of
Mhm.
your life, because everything, we are a culmination of everything that we experience, and who you are
Absolutely.
today is based off of your past experience, and you wouldn't be who you are today without those experiences. So thank you for sharing those are truly, I think a lot of people can relate. to
Yeah.
that, right? Where they haven't really carved out their path just yet, but they're ever progressing, they're ever moving forward. And so you took us through that journey, and you show us that you made the connection that I can really help people, and the research and the data is necessary, right? The
Mm-hmm.
research and the data of the mind and of psychology is necessary, but you were actually able to make a actual tangible difference, and not and not for nothing, right? It was one person, one young friend, one young lady that you were able to have a conversation with and change her paradigm, probably for the rest of her life. And you found more value in that than the data and the research that you were doing at the time, including band, right?
Mm-hmm.
Including music, including saxophone, and all those things combined. And so, the it all correlates. It all impacts. And so you made that pivot. Do you still play saxophone? Are you still
Absolutely. So I actually have a gig this Saturday. Yeah, actually
incredible?
have a gig this Saturday coming up. So this is something that I have been guided, and I can't have it leave my life. If I'm gonna share about this. So the moment I knew that saxophone was gonna stay with me forever. So this would be, what year is this? 2011. I began playing the saxophone, I believe, 2009. I played clarinet first, wanted to join the band, was in middle school, and I was like, oh, okay. What am I gonna do? I like music. I got kicked out of chorus when I was in elementary school for talking too much. So I'm like, well, I'm not gonna sing now. What else could I do? Um, I'm gonna play an instrument. So I thought about the instruments. So I was like, trumpet. I'm like, okay, it's kind of cool. And I was talking to my parents and my dad, like, shout out to my dad, love my dad. And I was like, trumpet. I was like, maybe like a flute. He was like, no, it's just, you're not playing no flute. Like he's a military man. Like he's like, they're playing no flute. So I was like, okay. And then I thought like the saxophone. And then I remember because I knew what the saxophone sounded like. And I said, well, every time I hear someone play saxophone, they sound different. No one really sounds the same. And I like that. And I was like, okay, this is a lane where I can develop my own style, my own voice, and it'll be just for me. So fast forward, so what ended up happening was in 2011, um, this is how I know God works in like really weird and mysterious ways. My mother passed away the day after my birthday.
Sorry.
Yeah. And a week prior to that, my saxophone had been in the shop, had some repairs that needed to be done. And I wasn't going to stay like at home and really just feel the wallow in the grief while just being in a home after the event had happened. So I went to school and I was crying from like homeroom all the way up to band class. And I remember walking into band class and the band director goes like, "Hey, your horn just got out the shop." And I'm just like, wow. And for that little 60-minute block, I didn't even think about it. I had relief. I was really just in the moment.
You weren't expecting it. You weren't
Yeah.
expecting what was it? Probably another week before the repairs have been done, and then all of a sudden
Mm-hmm.
it's now fixed. It's ready to go.
Mm-hmm. So I
Incredible.
had peace for that moment. And then when class was over, I was like, this has to stay with me for the rest of my life.
Absolutely.
Like I
Absolutely.
just got that feeling.
Absolutely. This is a part of you,
Mm-hmm.
cuz in a way mom is a part of you through music,
Mm-hmm.
and you know that without that connection, that you were able to get some relief. You were able to shut the world out, so to speak. Many
Mm-hmm.
musicians say that, right? They for 60 minutes or that time or duration when they're in the studio, they just and you can get some serenity, you can get some
Mm-hmm.
time alone, but you can also cut loose, right? You can
Right.
let it all out on that horn, and you're not hurting the saxophone's feelings. So
You know, you're
you're
doing
not.
exactly what you're supposed to do. It's a conduit for transmuting, transmuting energy, putting it out there in a different way. So that is, I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful for that experience. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to get to play and to be able to still be playing. I meet people all the time that's like, man, I used to play this when I was in high school. I put it down then. It's still good to see you doing it, and to be able to have that in my own life. Like, okay, I'm glad I stuck with it, and then also planting seeds of no, that thing that you were passionate about before, but along the lines that life came about, you decided to put it down. You can always pick it back up. Because when I was in grad school, I barely played. I was deep into counseling. I was learning to be a counselor, and I played. I could probably count what 3 or 4 times and like really deep into it where I played. And then once I was nearing my end towards graduation, the desire was coming back. It was like I need to get that attention. Yeah, it needs to be there. It needs to be a part of my life. It's not something I can just put down.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Powerful.
Thank you.
What's a belief? Can you share a belief system that initially you had early on, when you were going through potentially law school, you were doing your music, you were messing with the band. What's a belief you held early on in your earlier years in your career? Let's say a career in your
Hmm.
career that you've since outgrown and you no longer feel this way. You no longer believe this principle or this ideal or this concept. Can you share something that you initially started off with and now have outgrown?
That's a. I I'm gonna go abstract,
Okay.
but the literal idea of limitation itself is something that I constantly challenge in my everyday life now. The idea of
That there are no
we.
limits.
Hmm. Well, I believe that there were limits before.
Okay.
I'm believing now that there are less limits than I perceived in the first place, which is mind opening, but mind bending and sometimes breaking. Um, I can provide an example about this. On the intro to the show, I seen finance, right? So I'm gonna talk about finance a little bit. So there's a book. There's a book called The Secret, and one of the things in the book talks about. Um, Actually, I'm gonna go to a different example with the book. So one of the things that it talks about in the book is create and live your life as if something has already occurred, and then it will develop and come into your life and manifest, right? So I decided to take a practice that they had in the book where it says you print out a check, and you write an amount on the check, and then you wake up and look at it. I said, well, I'm gonna just do this like a science experiment. I'm gonna take it like a science experiment. So I said, okay. Started put the check on my phone screen. And then another part of it said, imagine checks coming to the mail. And I'm sitting here thinking like, well, shoot, man, I don't really get physical checks anymore. I don't. That's not something I do. But it's like, what the heck? It's part of practice. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
Mhm.
So I started just imagining like checks coming through the mail, and then I get a notification one time from my bank, and they were like, "Oh yeah, in the years of 2020 and 2021, we overpaid you. Yeah, we overcharged you for your car insurance, and we're sending you a check in the mail for a refund." So I'm like, "Oh,
Mm.
I'm like, oh crap!" I'm
Uh,
like,
it
"Oh crap!"
worked.
Right? It worked. So I'm like, "What else can I do? What else can I do?" Another thing um, that I was introduced to was the art of dowsing and pendulum alchemy, right? And there's a guy online. If you have some time, look him up. His name is Raymond Grace. And one thing that he does, or is help people out with their problems in their lives and situations, but using his mind and possibly a simple tool, he's able to change and cleanse water. And I was like, how does he go about doing this? I actually found out about this guy through I wanted to get some energy healing done on myself. Um, I'll speak on energy healing in a little bit, but I want to get some of that
Sure.
done on myself, and I ended up feeling better. And I asked the lady, like, "What exactly did you do?" And I'm like, "What exactly did you do?" She was like, "It's a lot to like list out, but I want to tell you, I'm just very intuitive. Like, I want to know. Like, I want to know." So I asked her, and she just sent me a book. And the book was called Techniques That Work for Me by Raymond Grace. And I began practicing things in that book. And I saw my whole reality around me, to a certain degree, begin to shift. And so going back to the belief is that just with the power of our conscious mind in the moment and learning about brain waves, that we can create changes in our lifestyle potentially at an instant.
Absolutely.
And this is not something I was aware of like early on, right? So it's if I can change water, what else can I change? Can I change some belief systems that I have? I said, what would happen if I change the belief system of fear of failure, fear of success? That were potential barriers of mine. And like imagine myself just overcoming these things like it's happening now. It would make a lot of these things easier to experience. I'm not ashamed to say that I have experienced situations, um, beliefs of fear, anxiety, social pressure. When I realized that some of these belief systems, I could do something about just by believing something different, or reminding myself that not all belief systems that I believe are mine. Some were inherited, some that I kind of grew up with, and I really didn't take a conscious choice as to, yeah, I'm deciding believe this because it's shown evidence to be true. Well, it's shown potentially. What if the evidence that it has been shown to be true was just through my belief in it?
Mhm. Your belief made it true, but
Mm-hmm.
but it's almost on the same plane as fear. Fear and your belief that something is hiding under your bed or the monster in your closet. It was never there to begin with, but your mind is powerful and made it real. And so
Mm-hmm.
today you live a barrier, a less intense barrier free life because you've been able to open the door and unlock your mind and say what things are here to stay, what are constants, right? What are the things, the physical things that I can't change, and what are some of
Mm-hmm.
the things that I can control or change for the better simply because I want to or you believe to. Is
Mm-hmm.
it, am I understanding you correctly?
Yes.
That
Yes.
that's a belief that you no longer limit yourself based off of the external,
Mm-hmm.
right? So because we have all of that, right? We have all the external things playing on us every single day. But like you said, like very delicately, you shared that, hey, this didn't come from me. I didn't create this.
Mm-hmm.
This was inherited. I inherited this belief system because I saw it or someone shared their fears with me and I
Mm-hmm.
absorbed it. And now you are now letting those things go. You're letting
Yeah.
and releasing those things back into where they came, which is nothingness.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing.
The void. Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. Incredible.
So it's a practice. It is definitely a practice to experience, because potentially through habitation, you're like, oh no, you want to put that limit there, but then you remind yourself, oh, but that's it's not real. And then the next thing is you're dealing with your emotions, because your emotions will give it fuel and power. If we walk through life without emotions, what would life be? What would life be? What would our attachments to things? What would make us afraid? What would make us love? Emotion, attaching the emotion to things gives it that energy and that power. So a lot of our belief systems and what we believe are charged with that emotion.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Speaking to emotions, how do you help clients who seemingly are stuck? They're
Hmm.
stuck in those belief systems. Some, they refuse to let go because I can, what you shared earlier, right?
Hmm.
There's a strong conviction that you have that that moment between the saxophone, your instrument, coming out of the shop, and unfortunately losing your mom, that's a belief system that I can imagine most people wouldn't let go,
Hmm.
irregardless of what others say to them. That's some people are just, they believe what they believe, and they've made up their mind that they're going to intellectualize and put all the science behind it, right? But sometimes we're intellectualizing pain. We're holding on to
Hmm.
things that are painful and are hurting us, right? Um, how do you help clients um, who who've intellectualized that pain but resist feeling it? Because it's not all
Hmm.
bad. You said it just now. Is like, what would the world be like if there was no feelings?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
that's a interesting world. I want to say right off the bat that might be a scary world
Mm.
where we don't feel. And but I
Yeah.
think that's I think that's a lot of people's response. I'm numb, right? We commonly hear that when I pain, grief, all the negatives. I'm numb. I don't feel anything. I don't want to feel anything. I don't want to
Hmm.
hold on right now. Maybe I'm in a crisis. Maybe I'm being chased down the street, and I don't have time to feel because the person chasing me with a gun is gonna hurt me. So I don't have
Hmm.
time to really dive into these emotions. But
Yeah.
sometimes well past the point of where we need to hold on or let go, because we're no longer being chased by that monster or the thing under our bed, but I'm
Yes.
still holding on to that feeling.
Right.
How do you help clients who intellectualize their pain but resist feeling it? Can you help with
Yes.
that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Right. So when we look at the intellectualization, we want to treat it with care because it's serving a purpose. The purpose of there is to protect oneself. And when we're trying to protect ourselves from this feeling, we're believing that this fear or this feeling that we're having underneath is dangerous or could cause us harm. But the reality is, by showing that the patterns, because if you don't have a pattern of something that you're not liking or not enjoying in your life, I probably won't see you anyway, right?
Mhm.
So it's something going on that motivated someone, rather whether it be some outside force, something they got going on, or within themselves. They believe that it was time to seek therapy services, counseling service, or what have you. So revealing that this thing, although this thing has a function, its purpose is on one end to protect you. However, what this thing is really protecting you from is actually causing more harm than it is good for you. And treating that space, that intellectualization with care and compassion, like, yes, I understand that this is why this is happening. But if you were to allow yourself to feel, you would allow much more enjoyable things to come forth from that. It's the energy, because a lot of time that intellectualization, it blocks off our energy. So it may be blocking off the pain, but it's also blocking off joy, happiness, passion.
Mm.
And we want those things: fulfillment, love. It all comes back to love, essentially, because these things cut us off from love. When we don't want to see or we want to intellectualize, we are cutting off love from ourselves, essentially. We want to push it away as and the unlovable, unseeable part of ourselves. Maybe because we learned from a very young age that it wasn't okay on the outside. But my job is to create an environment where, no, it is safe. You're not wild. You're not crazy. You're not wrong for your feelings. But we want to hear and see the function of it. What is it doing to your life? We're not here to debate whether you should or you shouldn't. What is the function? How is it taking place in your life, and what impact has does it have on you? And if you were to able to just cause a little bit of separation, just a little bit of separation, and open yourself up to the possibility, or have some curiosity about what would my life be like, or how would I experience life if I just allowed myself to have this moment. Because these feelings, even though they may feel so heavy and so burdensome, they don't really last that long when they're fully experienced. It's only a few seconds, like a small roller coaster ride. But sometimes that's scary too, right?
Absolutely. That's always scary.
Yeah.
That's always scary, at least for me. Um, Powerful, incredible. What's
Yeah.
one? Can you share one question that you typically ask, or you primarily ask often, that consistently has opened the floodgates of the emotions of a client? Can you share a question that typically, like, okay, this is, it in a world of cancel culture, this is
Mhm.
a question that it almost forces you to really feel for and for some of us that might be the first time.
Yeah. So one thing, I'm gonna answer this two parts. So I'm gonna answer
Okay.
it as a question, but then also we're gonna get into like the energy part, right? So the first question is, once we have identified this part, whether it be intellectualization, avoidance, I asked them, how does this help you?
Hmm.
And some people are kind of confused. And but if something's been a pattern and it's lasting for a period of time, it must be serving a purpose. And once that purpose is identified, there's a moment of like, oh God,
Hmm.
and then the other side. Because I won't say belief, I know that we have uh, a healed part of ourselves that is striving constantly to come out and show forth and to provide that healing. Because the healing power is within us. I'm a conduit for that healing for people. I'm probably doing in session maybe 20% of the work, if that.
Hmm.
80% is essentially on the client and their experience. But we having that space and having that perspective and that feeling of safety, to so those moments can manifest is essential. A lot of time what people are dealing with is issues of the inner child
Right.
or the inner adolescent. And safety and knowing safety is a big part of that. What is that feeling of safety? We're coming back to that love. One thing that I do just through techniques and practices that I've learned through other healing modalities is I want to connect to the heart first. I want to connect to the heart first. I'm not really interested in knowing the personality. The personality is fickle, it changes over time. The what we have on our exterior, it changes over time. But our heart, that's the center of our truth. That's essentially who we are. And when I come from my heart from a sincere place and develop a heart connection, those things just tend to come up. Sometimes I don't even have to ask. A lot of what I do and get is, wow, I never thought. I came in here feeling like I wasn't going to say anything. And I get in here and I'm just spilling all the beans.
Hmm. Because you connected to the heart.
Hmm.
You connected to the heart first before everything else. Before someone could put their guard up, you've
Hmm.
already you've already made that connection with them. Do you ever find yourself sharing your past experiences or your feelings, or connecting in that way, or your if a client is seeking you out for trauma? Do you ever find
Um,
yourself sharing your trauma? Is that even allowed?
I haven't had situations where I felt it was appropriate. The first question I ask, even if there's relatable situations, right? The first question I ask myself is, how would that serve them? If I can't figure out within myself and my truth that a way that it would serve them, then I really don't say it's myself. Um, Sometimes I tell a story to get the themes, um, but it doesn't have to be about me in particular. It could be about the themes or even the lesson that I learned through going through something, and that could provide help.
And that's more valuable than, okay, that makes sense. You don't need to share your personal story. It's the message. It's the
Mm-hmm.
message that you're trying to convey and help the client see through this story or this example. And
Right.
so that's
'Cause
even better.
yeah, I coming from a place where it's like, if I ever feel within myself that I need to connect with them on that level that we're in that engaged in our relationship, that this could provide some healing, even for potentially both of us. I'm willing to do that. Those instances occur very few and far between.
Absolutely. What does healing mean to you? And
Mm,
because that's a metric, right? When a
yeah, yeah,
client
yeah.
is seeking you out to say, I am trying to get from point A to point B. I'm here. I'm dealing with trauma. I'm dealing with PTSD. I'm dealing with that childhood. And you track that or you monitor that or you work with that client to get them from point A to point B.
Mhm.
What does healing mean to you, and how do you know when someone's truly healing and they're making progress or they're regressing?
Right. So, number one, that looks different from everybody, Marcus. It's completely different from everybody and their experience. Some, but there are some indications to let you know that things are happening better. Number one, just the literal feeling of being with that person in the room, the shifts in the energy, how, as a counselor, if you're clear and in your mind, you're at a safe space, you notice that you can be more relaxed around that person too. You
Mm,
notice that the connection you're having, they're able to convey themselves maybe in a more articulate way, maybe make some meaning about their experiences. Ultimately, I look at healing altogether as a growth process. It's a process. And as people endure, or I wouldn't say endure, that's not the language I want to put on, but as people go throughout their healing process, there'll be dynamics, shifts, and changes. But ultimately, people are coming back to their true selves through the healing process. They're coming back to their true selves.
which is
So, it,
love.
essentially, well, it
And
is. Yeah.
love is a goal. I love
Hmm.
this. Oh, this is good.
Absolutely.
I love this. This is good. This is good. I can't say this enough. You are speaking to me where I find myself sharing with people. In all things, lead with love, right? At least try to. In a world full
Hmm.
of hate and this person is after this person and feeling this kind of way and feeling that kind of way, try love for
Hmm.
for a change. And so you're speaking to that. It's like that's at your core, right? That's at our fundamental. A child isn't born hating anyone, right? A
Hmm.
child is filled with love. And then again, like we talked about earlier, those external things influence them into who they are. But initially
Right.
we're all full of love.
Hmm.
No, no one's no.
Even, yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, even as we come down through, depending on what people's belief is, but coming through that womb space, but as we come into human form, we get our parents' DNA,
Mm.
and since we're coming through the DNA and how we manifest and come about it in our bodies, we're getting everything that happens in these emotions, these beliefs, that feeling, not just at birth, but in conception too. Those things happen.
Okay.
I've seen instances where it's like we'll do some work and people will realize like this pain I feel is not even mine. It's not even mine. So that opens up a whole other can of worms. Like, oh, you're feeling this, but this is not related to anything that you have gone through and experienced this lifetime. Hope I'm not going too far out there with people, but these things have I've seen and I experienced with people.
You've helped them find and pinpoint an emotion that they're having that has nothing to do with them.
Not in their lives, not at the root and core.
Wow.
It's like, oh goodness, like yeah, like what's this feeling? And I like to do a lot of guided meditations,
Mhm.
in the work that I do, to get people just to really tap in with themselves and what they feel. And although the patterns may repeat in our lives, um, if you go to the core, some of them may just have roots elsewhere. That's essentially what I'm trying to say.
That's good. That's good.
Mm.
Is healing always the goal for you, or is there a point where acceptance sometimes is enough? I can't if I can't get you all the way across the finish line,
Hmm.
since we're talking band and HBC
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I you have I may not you may not be able to get someone all the way to healing, but if you can get them to the moment of acceptance, would that is that
Yeah.
good?
I think that's incredible because I've speaking of acceptance, I've learned to accept that I won't see everyone beginning to end in journey. And no, at the same time, that may not be my role. That may not be what I am supposed to do with this person. Maybe I'm helping them get to this far and they go with someone else or they take a seat for a little bit.
Mhm.
So it's coming into it. I take the mindset of I'm going to see this at the end. I think that's one of the best thing a person that's doing any type of healing work is see the most full and complete version of that person that you're sitting across from.
Absolutely.
Um, so
You see them for who they are.
mhm, at the end process. So whatever manifests in your interactions, even with like couples, you see that you have that vision in your mind and open your mind that is possible. So with that, these things happen where you don't see everyone goes from that self actual that per point where you see them to that self actualization piece in their life. But you want to do at simple, right? To do no harm and to be a conduit for some type of beneficial change at that point in their life. People go through many therapists. People go through different nurses, doctors, and sometimes it's just not to be on one person to guide someone all the way throughout the process. Especially in my experience, I tend to get recently. I've said this. I get people. It just so happens this way, either in the midst of a critical change or right after a critical change,
Mm,
and adjusting to what is this new life going to be? What am I embarking on in the future? And when our time is up, our time is up.
mhm.
But we've laid the groundwork for what's next.
Do you assign homework so that the healing or that work can continue, even if the journey has run its course with you?
Hmm. Yeah, I like to give loose homework. I like
Okay.
it to give loose homework. These are some areas you should look at. Take some time to think about this. Monitor your beliefs around this area. What are your thoughts about yourself? Just some loose things. Without, I don't want my clients to feel like they're coming into class or that, oh, let me go ahead and do what Manuel or Mr. Powell said before I come in to make sure I'm doing it. I don't want that. I want this to be a genuine process for you. And if you don't do it, you don't do it. But I've planted the seed. And that was my job to do that, to plant
Absolutely.
the seed. And even if we're talking about things like order or procrastination, we can plant those type of seeds too. Plant accountability seeds too, because we want to be self accountable. So first, and come from a loving place.
True. True. Lead with love.
Hmm. Hmm.
Lead with love. Absolutely. Absolutely. I want to pivot a little bit.
Absolutely.
You uh, when seeing clients, you specialize in something that is unique, and I really appreciate it. You are very passionate about providing uh, several modalities. You specialize in several modalities. Well, the two that sticks out for me is you provide intensive short-term dynamic psychotherapy, and which for adults, this helps them who may be suffering from anxiety, depression, psychosomatic symptoms, and you also do motivational interviewing that
Hmm.
help people with addictive behaviors, especially young adults, right? I think of
Absolutely.
the young man with the fidget spinner or the young girl with the fidget spinners. That seemed to get people, young adults, through an era. And you also are a Reiki master. Am I correct?
Reiki practitioner. So I'll be a master soon enough, but
That's fair.
practitioner at the moment.
Reiki practitioner. So
Yeah.
all those are tools that you
Hmm.
have to help your clients who are seeking you out. And so how do you decide which modality to lead with when a client presents you with a complex trauma or
Hmm.
several traumas all at once? How do you decide which to utilize?
Um, it's twofold, right? So this is definitely what I experience as far as left brain, right brain, right? Left brain is like, okay, we're gonna use these therapy modalities, and we're gonna conceptualize this way. However, my soul and my spirit often sees things in a different realm and a different way. And what I usually base it off of is how they're coming to me and little, what I like to call intuitive nudges that I get from them. Keywords that I feel like, or instances, open the door. So, for example, right, I was having this was more Carl Rogers s type of therapy, and then in the midst of nowhere, the client just pulls out a deck of tarot cards, and I'm just like,
Hmm,
okay,
really?
but yes, and they talk about their interpretation of the cards. I'm like, okay, I'm familiar. I know about these things.
They're doing it
So,
to you?
well, no, this is for themselves. So they're just like, this is what I got when I did this morning.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So like they had a reading on themselves this morning, and they're telling me about it. So I'm like, okay, this lets myself know. It's like, okay, this person may be into some things that are not of typical Western medicine like things. So we'll start with like a guided meditation. If they're receptive to that, we'll like tiptoe a little further. Okay, how can you tap into your own subconscious mind and repair some of your own beliefs? One thing I do with the more energetic spiritual s, my clients don't realize it, but I'm actually teaching them how to do it on themselves to heal themselves. We'll do it together, but I'm teaching them how to do it themselves to go within their own mind, their own body. Now, on the other caveat is I try to lead with um, the typical Western theoretical approach, unless the client comes to me otherwise. So I look for the key tenets and points. So if I use ISTDP for example, right? I have identified a pattern in which the client has a set of emotions that are transpired, followed by a defense of some kind, and defense may be rigid, and the defense, through our query analysis, we identify that this particular defense is what's blocking the emotions coming up. So I'm like, okay, working through this model may be helpful for this person because they need to experience. They need to let that emotional experience come through them without the layers of the defense. Now, for emotional interviewing, it's like the person who wants to change, but often has barriers to change, as far as their personal will, effort, not really understanding where they are when it comes to change. So this is a way to incorporate, like, I'm moving with you. This is where we're at. Well, there's a reason that I'm before you and you're before me. That's one tenet that I always keep up here. This is not a coincidence, that we're having this interaction right now. So there's some purpose in this interaction, and we're going to get something from this. So if I use motivational interviewing for something like substance abuse, I might have someone that's just contemplating whether or not they want to stop smoking weed. Like, okay, where are you at with it? Okay, this is how often you do it. This is uh, does it help you? Like, no. Okay, what are some reasons you want to make this change for yourself? Okay, what will happen if you don't make these changes? And then viewing the almost reactivity to either making that change or not making that change, and just sticking with it. So it's a number of things that kind of go into it. Um, that pull me each direction. The biggest thing that I still developing and learning is the idea of really trusting myself and making the decision to go with the more abstract ideas because of how it comes up and thinking about people's potential receptivity to it. But I'm not it would be a disservice to be for me to be so attached to the idea of doing it or even not doing it that I missed out upon the client. So I have to remove myself from the situation and really tap into my own heart and see what is the best service for this person possible. Even
Absolutely.
if it sounds strange to me having conversation. I've had instances where I'm in the client and we're talking to them through a guided meditation, and in my ear I hear Reiki, Reiki. And I'm just like, and
Mhm,
I sit with it and I was like, have you heard of this? And I pitched the idea. They're like, "Yeah, I think I want to try some of that."
mhm. So you let the conversation, you let the client identify first off what they identify. If they're seeking you out and they saw you on your website or anything, you let the client tell you initially. But if the client doesn't tell you and they just come to you with the thing they want to work on, then you listen for cues and verbal cues that they're going to identify in language when they share with you, and you're going to
Mm-hmm.
use those cues to help you realize, okay, I can help you in this way with this modality and help you, or I can go this route. Or again, the client is giving you those symbols where they
Mm-hmm.
ripped out the tarot cards, and you're like, okay, this client may be open to something new or something different because
Yeah.
they're already in that explorative frame of mind. They're already open to unlocking other avenues of their subconscious mind. And
Mm-hmm.
so that can come out and that presents itself when you perform your therapy. And so who is a good client for ISTDP, or
Mm.
who's an ideal client for motivational interviewing, and who's an ideal client for Reiki work and Reiki healing?
Okay, so I would say for ISTDP is people that have is kind of like the I just feel stuck type of modality. I'm just kind of feeling stuck right now as far as my emotions or even having some reactivity. It is also very, very good when it's done at a high level for psychosomatic disorders, as in I don't really know what's going on with my feelings, but my leg just seems to hurt, or I think about this event and my throat just shuts down, or I can't move, or I dissociate. So it can be that modality can be used at that very critical psychosomatic um, level. I've seen a clip when I was learning this modality in grad school. Shocked me. My professor had a client that came in. They was coming in on a wheelchair. They were coming in on a wheelchair, and they had a breakthrough. And they had after the session, they were closing out. The client literally stood up and just walked.
Mm.
They
Mm.
forgot. They forgot they were in a
Do
wheelchair.
you because the ISTTP was working and they forgot the pain, like their subconscious, their feelings qu- became physical for them, which is I
Yes.
can't walk. And
Mm-hmm.
through the work of intensive short-term dynamic psychotherapy, the client forgot, released it. They
Mm-hmm.
let it go and they were able to
Yes.
move as if it was never there.
Yeah. Now I can't, I haven't had those experiences yet.
Okay, okay, not yet. Okay. No, that's fair.
So I can't go out here and say like, yeah, I'm making people walk again. One day, I'm not gonna say it's out of the realm of possibility. If it was today, I haven't seen it yet, but that was just goes to show the power of the mind on their end too. Just everything that goes around it. So motivational interviewing, I alluded to it a little bit, is typical is the number one thing for substance abuse. Number one modality for substance abuse. So if I'm seeing someone for substance abuse, my number one thought is motivational interviewing, just how I'm conceptualizing. Um,
What is it? Cigarette smoking? Is it gambling? Is it
hmm any
carcinogens? Okay.
yeah, all is it's a good one because you're putting the person at a point where they get to decide to make their own change and at what level of change they want to make it.
Mm.
And it's very gentle in the fact that there's no shaming, there's no guilt, because relapses and such happen. It's a very real thing. My first experience with substance abuse, I was living in Baltimore. I lived in Baltimore for several years and was working with substance use clients that were coming off crack cocaine, heroin, and we had our facility, and you could walk outside, and there was a dude on the corner. It was like that. So it really just put things in a more real perspective of me, of the amount of willingness to change and the follow up that has to happen. A lot of working with the motivational interviewing, I have people create a whole new different identity. They I have them create a person who doesn't even need the substance, have them create a person of themselves that doesn't desire the substance. Because if they think the wiring of the personality can be so strong, they think that who they are and identify with is part of that substance. So there has to be some type of separation there. I'm all for NA and AA, but I'm also very aware of the power of words and that it has on the mind. If you're constantly telling yourself that you're an addict, that's gonna seep into your mind at some degree. And I believe there's ways and means to have people who have complete separation from those layers of addiction.
And you help them see that. You help them
Hmm.
say, "I need you to create this avatar, your avatar of yourself without the addiction." And you walk them through and you let them see themselves what life would be like and what they would
Hmm.
be like without the addiction.
Hmm.
Incredible. Incredible. And
So yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. I didn't touch on the Reiki piece.
Nah,
So
and that
that
was I was gonna
uh,
ask it anyway. You're good.
yeah, yeah,
You're right on
yeah.
cue.
So with that, right? So uh, if I at this level of Reiki, right? So I'm a level 2 practitioner, and some traditions there's 4, some traditions there's 3. At this level, I'm able there's we get associated with different symbols, and we call these attunements. So I have been attuned to 3 symbols, and each symbol has, for sake of word, general purpose. The first symbol is like an all around. It's like an all around fixer. So with Reiki, it's an intelligent energy. So I could have my intent on what it has to do, but if there's a higher need coming from the energy that knows what really needs to be worked on, it's going to direct it towards that. There's a second symbol that this typically works on emotions, emotions and addictions. And this third symbol that I've been attuned to allows me to do it at a distance. So this is something that I could do to someone in New Zealand or South Africa. But the thing about distance, right? We're not just talking about locational distance. We're all distance in the form of space and time as well. So you can also do Reiki on a part of a person that is not very present. What does that mean? I can give Reiki to a childhood part of somebody. I can give Reiki to an adolescent part of somebody. It's possible to give Reiki to a past life part of somebody. It's
Hmm.
how we use our intent and what we understand about distance. And that's kind of goes into like the limitation mindset.
I was just
Uh,
about to say there's no limit on
yeah.
where you can transfer or transmutate that energy, and it's nothing's off limits. There's
Hmm.
no limits, there's no
Right.
barriers, right? It,
Yeah. And with Reiki, is if people are not ready for it, they'll just say no.
mhm.
They'll say no or back out from it because that it comes to the hurt or the part in that is in need of healing may have too much of a stronghold to be open to it at that particular moment. Or since we're dealing with an intelligent life force, you might not be the person to administer to that person at this particular time.
Because your willpower or your energy is too strong.
Well, I wouldn't say that just based off of one thing, right?
A
It could
number of
be
things.
a number of things. Um, but what I will say about this, right? If anyone decides to embark on any type of energy healing, or I think this is really good for even counselors themselves because, especially if you share a room with clients, it is important for you to have a higher vibration than the people you are serving.
Mhm.
Because if it's not at a subatomic level, you could be causing harm. I know that can be for some people weird to conceptualize, but we're dealing with fields, energies, and a different level of interpretation physics as well. So it's also always good to, if you're in a healing practice, to keep your vibration high. What does it mean to keep your vibration high? To make sure you're healing or going through some type of healing process yourself, to have a positive attitude, positive mindset. Um, I'm just saying, being drug free, keeping drama out of your life, not going to negative environments, and on the higher level, getting yourself some type of spiritual protection.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is good. This is good.
Mhm.
Can you share a moment when combining motivational interviewing and ISTDP unlocked a breakthrough for a client?
I haven't tried that one yet. I haven't
Okay.
tried that one yet because what I like about those, right? They are like, in a sense, they're like siblings, right?
Mhm.
I would consider like ISTDP has the principles of identifying your personal will and desire to make a change on a particular thing, but it has this added element of pressure. Pressure, and you're pressuring that healed self versus the unhealed self a lot. You're pressuring that healed self to push for the emotions so that a breakthrough can occur and then be reconnected with love. Motivational interviewing doesn't have that same pressure added to it. So I wouldn't say if you're doing ISTDP, you're doing motivational interviewing, but you do get some of the tidbits of that benefit. Um, so if I could share, let's see, who can I pull from? Okay, so wow, it's kind of crazy how the word works. Um, so I had one client who we were going through the process of getting in touch with the unconscious feelings that they were having towards their parents, and they were at a moment of intense emotion, and they had a flash or moments where they had seen that the anger that they had manifested within them had actually struck their mother down
Mm.
on the floor. This is just all in the mind that they have done this. And a lot of times when this division happens, amidst guilt comes forth, right?
Right.
And when that guilt happens, that is a form of love coming forth, because this person that you caregiver, you have these feelings for, you have these mixed emotions about, because as much as you have this displeasure towards them, there's also this love towards them as well. And when something is done with that, your heart has space, since the anger has been let out. The thing that you have told yourself was unthoughtful to do, you couldn't even imagine doing, has been done. That energy has been cleared. It's been released. And now you are met with you and that person, and that other person, if it's a caregiver, was in that vulnerable state. And you can look into their eyes. And that's when the emotions of love, compassion come first and come forth. And sometimes, well, I'm say sometimes, a lot of times, the experience may not be that intense, but the process of going through and getting past that defense is worked through
Abs-
numerous times.
Absolutely. I want to piggyback on Reiki,
Yeah.
because this seems like this isn't necessarily speaking all the time. You're not necessarily having. You're not needing to talk all the time.
hmm
And so, can you describe a session where silence spoke louder than words?
This is, yes, absolutely. So if I could take you in, I love silence. Number one, silence. Number one. If the heart isn't really telling you, or your higher self within you isn't really telling you to speak or what to say at the moment,
Mhm,
sometimes silence and space is what exactly that person needs, right? So it's hard to pick a specific situation where silence was the answer.
mhm,
But I feel like my personal strength is literally listening and getting out of the way so the healing can happen. With Reiki, you're putting forth the energy. So words do not have to be said or spoken. The talking a lot of times comes after the fact, or you feel something as a practitioner where in a certain area you may feel some tightness or heaviness, spikiness, depending on how one may feel the energy. Um, I'm more of like a temperature and pressure type of person, is how I feel other people's energy as of right now. Um, you might want to inquire about some questions, but other than that, it's pretty quiet. It's pretty quiet. So I think that silence gives space to give people an opportunity to speak with the feeling that they're being really considered and heard. And also, it can be scary for someone to not have uh, a bouncing board off of, because the ideas of shame or low self esteem can come up. They're not responding to me. I can't pick up on their cues. I must be doing something wrong.
Mhm.
So these are things to look out for. But I'm a firm believer in the power of silence. I'm a firm believer in the power of silence.
Absolutely. What's
I hope that
your
answered your question. I didn't really get into specifics of a case, but
No, it did. It
yeah.
did, right? It spoke to your beliefs. And so those viewing you or wanting to know more or wanting to understand, what is your therapeutic approach? That is not
Mm.
always talking, and that's a good thing, right? Some people think I got to talk, I got to get it out. Some I can picture a space where someone's not used to that, or
Mm-hmm.
things at home were always loud and busy, and we live next to a major highway and it's always hustling. But New Yorkers, that's what I want to say.
Okay.
Like, New Yorkers is always get up and go, and they oftentimes complain when they move south how quiet it is, how serene it is, because they've never had to sit in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they were always surrounded by noise. Mom's on the phone, the baby's crying, the dog's barking, and so it's okay,
Yeah.
right?
Cause
And
yeah.
people need to I think hear that.
Yeah, because I might get somebody um whose throat chak I meet them in their throat chakras blocked off rip. That's something that we as Americans have, that just seem to be a constant thing with us. That certain things we don't speak on or we don't say, because I won't say because, I would say it's influenced by different sets of things. But that's a trend that I've noticed, that many times that throat chakra itself is blocked. I think that, well, shoot, here I go. I had the connection. Now I gotta say it. Um, Without going into the particular politics, I would say that our culture has a lot of fear elements used to dictate the thoughts and behaviors of the people within the
Agreed.
culture. Yeah.
Agreed.
And a lot of that is done through the voice. Even if you look at certain times where people spoke and people were killed for that, and regardless of we were there in the moment to experience that, we're aware of that on certain levels. That people will kill you for saying something like that.
Absolutely. That's real.
Yeah, yeah.
You're right. That's why they always seek, when the first sign of oppression is coming, right? It's always, I need to silence you, right? I need to silence that thing, and I need to snub out this newspaper. It's the word, right? It's that
Hmm.
word coming out. And so, incredible. Incredible. What's the emotional cost of being a therapist who works this deeply and intuitively with clients? You talked about setting up some protections for
Yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
What is the emotional cost that people may not be aware of, who again, you're paving the way for others to come behind, right?
So
Future
yeah,
therapists who want to who see you and may be interested. But what's the emotional toll that you have to be cognizant about every time you go into session?
you will see yourself. Number one, you're dealing with yourself and your emotions. If you first, the first thing you'll see, even through your training, you'll begin to see yourself, and it can be scary. You'll have emotions that you thought you had dealt with, or things that you felt you had addressed, and it will come up. It's not something that how do I want to say this? Actually, it is something that occurs to me as soon as I like overcome something or pass something or learn a lesson. I'll see it in someone before me. It's like a double check. Is, are you really healed from that situation?
Mm,
When I first was in my internship and I was doing individual therapy, um, I just began feeling heavy every day, and I had no clue why. I had no clue why. I would leave my sessions and I would just be like, man, I just feel swamped, tired, bogged down. And then I was like, okay, I check with the basic stuff. Like, okay, get my exercise right, make sure my diet is better, um, making sure I'm getting good sleep. I'm just like, oh goodness, I'm still feeling this happiness. But then just through my own healing journey, I was able to find out these other things that influence energy. So if you are into more energy type of modalities, or even open to the ideas of things like that and crystals, some things you can use is getting some black kyanite, some obsidian. Obsidian arrowhead crystals is a good thing. If you pray, do that before you go into places. If you like mantras, do that into before you go into places. And if all of that is out of your wheelhouse and you don't believe in anything, one simple thing that people can do, or even people going into this work, is imagine a sphere of light all around you. And that's not going to act as like a shield, but it's just going to raise the vibration and energy of anything coming into your vicinity. So that pain is displaced before it really touches you, and is transferred onto you and stick with you. It's going to be transmuted into something more beneficial and good for you. But some things that you might encounter is grief, sadness, questions about your self-esteem, self-worth, even imposter syndrome. This is something that we had a meeting on earlier this week. These are some things that you potentially can experience in this process. But I wouldn't say but rather and you get the experiences of overcoming these things and growing into a greater individual as well.
Absolutely. Do you have any common uh, things you do before or after a session with a client who had an intense experience? Are there things that you practice beforehand and aftercare?
hmm Yeah, are you talking about like just me independently or like with the client?
You independently. How do you stay grounded when clients project intense emotions onto you? Do you
Wow.
and do you have personal rituals before or after a heavy session?
Okay. So I typically, if I'm coming into my space, I typically use some Palo Santo to cleanse the space, just to get ready for the day. Um, a lot of what I do just in my private life primes me up for everything I'm gonna do for my therapy sessions otherwise. So I'm doing some grounding, I'm doing some meditation beforehand, just for me and my sake. And I'm in that feeling and sphere of getting ready. And I'm gonna be honest with you, sometimes like it feels like I tap into a different version of myself when I'm just in the midst of the session and really locked in. After the session, I always go outside. I have the privilege of working remotely, so I do have access to outside where I can go see the sunshine or put my feet in some grass, and I'm thankful for that. So that's something I do and make sure I do just to
That's a good
get
one.
myself back in order, because it's not even a level of transference that clients gets to me. If I'm meeting somebody for the first time, I know a few modalities. My brain's going, okay, think about it from this lens, think about it from that lens, and it's rapid. I need to like, oh man, we just gonna get back centered. We're gonna figure out what the root is and how we can tackle it for it, and what this person needs the most.
Absolutely.
And if anyone's looking for a specific technique for grounding, if they ever need grounding, you can do it anywhere. Just get quiet, take a few breaths from the bottom of your stomach, and imagine roots coming out of your feet, going down into the ground, through the crust of the earth, through the fiery hot mantle of the earth, and locking into place in the very fiery, hot core of the earth. And then also imagine that your tailbone is actually a tail, maybe like a dragon that's going down and wrapping around the core of the earth and securely locking you into place. Is some good grounding techniques to do.
You cheated. You snuck on my next question. I was about to ask you about breath work, right?
Okay.
Because
Yeah, yeah,
breath
yeah.
work, what role does breath work play in healing work?
Man, it's it's really good. So I was not a big proponent of breath work at first, right? I was kind of like, man, I play saxophone. I don't need no breath work. I don't need. I've been blowing this horn for years. I don't need any breath work. And I came across an exercise. What was this? It's probably 2 weeks ago.
Hmm,
It was like,
recent.
yeah, pretty recent. 20. No, it's 10. It's 10 breath. No, 20 breaths, but inhaling 10 seconds. Hold for two with a natural release. And I was like, oh goodness, I never felt so calm. I thought I was calm before. I
Uh-huh.
never felt so calm. I never felt so calm. And I was like, okay, this is another area that I really want to venture into and to start discovering more because I've tried other breathing techniques before. The box breathing, it just really didn't work out for me. But um, that technique really was able to change what felt like in the moment the speed and the chemistry that was going on in my brain. So
So so
that was amazing.
so okay, do that. I need your help. Do that
Okay.
again. So like it's in through the mouth. Like can you
Okay.
walk us a
So
little sample? Like
yeah. So okay. So if you're sitting there, you got both feet planted on the ground,
okay.
and then you just want to just imagine you're pulling from the very bottom of your stomach, and you're inhaling, and you're counting 10 seconds as you're inhaling. You hold like 2 seconds, and you just do like a natural release,
Mhm.
and then your next breath is just a regular breath. What was doing it before, and then you go back into the 10. And then you just kind of let go. And you do that 20 times.
And you'll feel different. You'll
Yeah. I
feel
feel different now. Did you try it?
I was with you. I was with you. No, I've today was a very impactful day, so that's good. That's good.
Mhm.
I'm thank you for that. This is huge, y'all. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Oh my god. The next one, I'm gonna have to give you my insurance card.
Right? I got that from a book called was it's called How to Do the Work. I can't remember the lady's name, but it's by a psychologist. It's How to Do the Work because a lot of times in this field I've seen people do interviews, show up on shows. They'd be like, "Yeah, but you got to do the work." And I've even in this role, I'm like, "But what is the work? What is the work?" So that's a something to look into if you ever hear that phrase like you have to do the work. There's a resource there that like okay, this is what the work entails.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This has been an epic conversation. This has been absolutely phenomenal. You are phenomenal, and I
Thank you.
appreciate
I
you for
appreciate it.
doing. Absolutely, I appreciate you for doing the great work, the necessary work that is needed. And so, what's your vision? If I could pick your brain for the future of Manuel Vidal Powell, what's your vision for the future, and what do you see the mental health space transitioning to? Because what you do and what you're specializing and what you're growing into um, is conflicting to Western medicine that
Hmm.
just wants you to medicate, medicate, medicate. And so, what do you see for the future, and where does Mr. Powell see himself in the future?
I'll speak on what I will see the counseling and in the therapeutic world. I see I see a lot more integrative approaches using some, as we're seeing now, mindfulness, potential energy work in the future. Will be a part of what we call, talk therapy. Um, Regardless if I like it or not, AI is a popular thing.
Mm,
So I do see that being a part in some degree. To what utility it would be, I'm not certain. I can't say, but it's growing in popularity. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, like, I could see the potential of the people who are pushing for it to have that as a resource as typical therapy. Um, it's for myself, right? I see myself expanding in a role where I'm doing more energetic things, more spiritual things, as a part of my work. Um, should I share this? I'm not gonna share that. In a way that's really transformative, and a way that I can conceptualize things that I've learned on the Western therapy sense, and can combine it with the things that I'm learning now. I see myself doing lectures, talks, and some writing in my future. How those things are coming out, I'm not really sure, but those are the things at this point in time I do see for myself. And as far as this journey, and the sky's the limit. You never know what
absolutely.
else can be there. And we're also going to incorporate sound. I think that's sound healing is very important as well.
Oh, that's gonna be good.
Mhm.
That's gonna be really good. I can see it. I can see it. How can people connect with you? How can people find you? How can people learn more?
Okay, so great. So I have my email that people can contact me with at m as Emmanuel Powell Powell at wefixbrains.com wefixbrains.com. You can also go on to Hampton Rose Lifeologic or Lifeology, excuse me, website, and schedule an appointment with me there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Vidal.
Mhm.
Thank you for what
Thank
you
you.
do. Again, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to give back in this way. I see this as a public service, and you are, I'll
Mhm.
say it again, you are necessary. So
I
thank you for
appreciate
what
you.
you do.
Thank you
Absolutely.
for your show and having people like myself the opportunity to come out and to speak to the public in a different type of format, and then what we typically see people might like myself speak in. Um, and I can see that you're really passionate about this and that you enjoy doing this. So you're on the right track and doing the great things for yourself in the present, and I hope to see this grow for you.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. That means a lot coming from you. So thank you, sir. I appreciate it. All right, y'all. This has been a jam-packed episode. We have to let this incredible man go. There's many more lives to change, many more people to help, and many more people to create that avatar where they see themselves, the better person, the better you, in so many fantastic ways. So stay connected to Mr. Powell and what he has in store for the future. We gotta let him go, y'all. Unfortunately, we are out of time. We gotta
Mhm.
let him go. But like we end every show, take care of your friends, take care of your family, and always, always take care of business. This is Marcus, your favorite gentleman, and the incredible Manuel Vidal Powell. Check him out, y'all.
All
Love you
right.
guys.
You guys
Bye.
have a beautiful evening.
Absolutely.